Last time on D&D, featuring Eros, the Lightfoot Halfling Rogue, Galena, Araneth, the Half-Elf Celestial Warlock, Baldur, the Human Pack-Chain Warlock, in Servants of the Wizard. Alright, for this one, this is typically between myself and the players. We call this one the off-week game because originally we were gaming, I believe it was every 2 weeks prior to the pandemic. And then once the pandemic hit, some of the players wanted to play more frequently because then it was easier. Everyone's playing from home. No one has to drive home, sit in traffic and stuff like that. So what happened is I said, hey, I know some people can't do it. Some people have other obligations people may have, or maybe just don't want to commit to a weekly game. I said, so if you want to volunteer, that's great. I'll come up with some kind of concept that allows players to basically drop in and out of a game pretty easily. And so I developed an off-week game, and I didn't record the first session. All the other sessions are recorded. I did not record the first session because I did not know how long this was going to last. As it turns out, frequently when the regular game gets canceled, the players for the off-week game are all available, so we've played the off-week game. So the off-week game has something like 45 or 46 sessions already completed. So I regret not recording the first one, but I guess, I'll just go into talking about it and explaining what happened. So we have Mike, who's playing Eros, who is a Lightfoot Halfling Rogue. We have Jessica, who's playing Galena. I'm going to mispronounce the last name, and she'll probably hit me for it. It's Enrith, Erenaeth, and she is a half-elf celestial warlock. And then we have Aaron playing Baldur, who's a human. He is a pack-chain warlock with the specializing into the spear. For this game, everyone who is playing in the off-week game, they're all a servant to an evil wizard by the name of Mordak, who basically resides on the main continent, Ataim. He has this massive tower, and within this tower he has collections of endless tomes of wizardry and magic. That's all he's been doing, is gathering all this knowledge around him and basically has it stored away in this tower. Basically, think of a very selfish child who is hoarding all his toys. That is essentially what Mordak is doing. And he's enslaved a number of people who are seeking knowledge. So people who have heard of Mordak and who have heard that he has all of this knowledge, they come to him and he says, yes, I will let you study some of these massive tomes that are nowhere else in the world, but there's a price. And he puts a rune on the back of their neck. And he says, this rune essentially allows me to call you, wherever you are, back to this tower. He has all of their names written in this massive tome as to who has basically agreed to serve him and who he has marked. Galena, she gained the knowledge of the unicorn patron that she's bound with, while Baldur found a magic spear that had a sentience in it and bound that to him, absorbing its magic properties into himself. Eros, who was a thief, had hoped to basically steal from Mordak, but was caught by the wizard. And the wizard was going to kill him for just daring to steal anything, but decided, you know what? Having a thief to basically be employed by me and go steal from other wizards is actually something that would be useful to me. So Galena, Eros, and Baldur are all marked with Mordak's rune on the back of their neck. Now the reason I did this is essentially I said, as long as there's 2 players, I'll run off week. I need at least 2 players. Like 1 player, that's not going to be typically enough. But if I have 2 players, I'll run a game. So in the event, say for example, if we have Galena and Baldur who are playing, but Eros misses a session. So I basically explained it away is that Mordak has pulled Eros away typically early on. So that way Galena and Baldur can continue to play, but when Eros joins the next session, an easy way to do it is I basically said, as long as there's 2 people, they've basically mimicked Mordak's ability to summon people, but they're not as powerful as he is, so it takes at least 2 people to do the summoning, and together they can summon someone who is not there. So that way, if a player does miss a session, this is a very easy way because it's the off-week game. Wasn't sure how it was going to do with obligations and whatnot. So having two people who could summon a third, fourth, or whatever was an easy way to go about this. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking in the background. The party, which consists of Galena, Baldur, and Eros, they come together and realize that there may be magic from this area known as the Broken Lands, where Mordak is getting some of these ancient relics, and some of this may be able to break this chain that has binded them to Mordak. Eros, essentially using his forgery, forges some documents needing to hide that they were actually going to the Broken Lands and that they worked for Mordak, and they get aboard a ship known as the Sundial and head for the Ivory Coast, which is basically the main port city, the rowing port city that is on this new continent where all these magic items are coming from. However, along the way, the party's documents are discovered to be forgeries while they're aboard the ship of the Sundial. And the captain and everyone else quickly want to find out who these three people are, as they've kind of found out that these are forgeries. And Eros and Baldur quickly make their way to the dinghy boat to make their escape. Galena tries to get in there, however she slips and takes a tumble. This will not be the first time that Galena ends up falling. So being able to do this recap 47 sessions afterwards, Galena has a really bad habit of always falling. It goes on and on so frequently that Jessica, who runs Galena, basically made it a trait that Galena is afraid of heights. Anyway, she misses and lands in the water. Baldur and Eros quickly pull her onto the boat. As they begin rowing, they see an island off in the distance. The party begins rowing towards this island, but as they get about 100 feet away, they find that the tide is almost virtually pulling them in to the point where they don't even need to row. But the tide is pulling them in so quickly and so violently that it seems almost unnatural how the island almost seems to be beckoning them, giving them no choice, as if they were tried to paddle away, they would grow tired long before they ever got away. The party rows ashore in the dark of night and finds a log to put into the ground, and basically they tie this rope to ensure that this little boat that they've escaped on does not just drift away. Baldur and Galena spot a campfire up on this small hill. It's about 60 feet away from them. Eros decides to go ahead and scout ahead, being the rogue that he is, basically using the cover of the night, and manages to get fairly close to this campfire. And he sees 4 figures sitting around the campfire. He listens, but can't determine what language they're speaking. A quick glance reveals green skin, pointed ears, and small humanoids in size. And he quickly catches their scent and knows them to be goblins. He attempts to stealth back, but manages to bang his toe. Halflings don't always wear shoes, and lets out a yelp as he hits the dirt and remains still. The goblins stand up hearing it and begin scanning the dark area on the beach. Eros crawls on his elbows and basically gets close enough to whisper to Galena, "Goblins." The party decides to create a mousetrap. Baldur flips the boat over while Galena ties the rope. The party then hides in the dunes of the beach while Baldur uses minor illusion to create an illusion of glistening gold. This catches the attention of the goblins, and 2 of them decide to go down and take a look. Baldur pulls the rope with a natural 20 and springs the trap and renders the 2 goblins unconscious as the top of the boat slams into their head. The party then moves up to the other 2 goblins and they try to communicate with them. And while they're trying to speak in their broken goblinoid to these goblins, the goblins pause and say, "Hey, we actually speak common," although their common is a little broke. And they make no move to attack. The party discovers just up from the beach ridge is an old plantation-type mansion, covered in rotted trees and dying gardens. The goblins explain that they were patrolling the area, saw the manor, which appeared to be unoccupied, and thought maybe there was a good chance that there was still gold inside. However, none of them volunteered to go inside until Jacques, the goblin, decided he would go. The party asked how long it had been since Jacques had gone in, and the leader of the goblin party, Krakar, explains that it'd been about a day. The party's a little astonished that an entire day has gone by and they've not heard from the goblin friend. Things may not be going well for Jacques. The party goes back and forth with the goblins who refuse to go in, and so the party goes, "You know what? we'll go and investigate this plantation manor and see what's going on. They arrive at the iron gates, which are rusted and broken apart, and quickly notice a massive front yard also serves as a massive graveyard. There are a number of tombstones looking old and ancient, broken, and scattered throughout. The party proceeds with caution, however, a zombie emerges. Galena explains that she had heard that throwing salt prevents undead from rising, so Baldur begins throwing salt rations all over the place. The zombie, however, does not respond, and combat begins. Eros runs up and takes his first stab with his short sword, which passes through the undead's lifeless abdomen without doing much damage. Baldur runs up next and hits the zombie as well. The zombie, however, having been hit last by Baldur, swings his clutched fist and strikes Baldur hard with a natural 20, doing almost maximum damage, which is, at level 1, pretty dangerous. Galena swings with her quarterstaff and manages to hit as well. Eros then runs up to the zombie's leg, kicks it in, forcing the zombie to buckle, and Eros delivers the killing blow, stabbing the undead zombie in its lifeless brain. The zombie collapses over. After ensuring there are no other zombies, the party moves up to the front door. Eros examines the door and notices the hinges are rusty and uses oil to oil them down and rolls a natural 20, so that way they are not squeaky. Eros then checks for traps and spots none and enters the manor. Instantly, he fights off this odd sensation of sadness. He tells the others what he feels, and they enter and they also fight off this sadness that just seems to be emanating from the foyer. But then Eros sees Baldur's throat being slit by an invisible hand and blood pouring from his neck, and he freaks out, but Galena doesn't see it. She looks at Baldur and he seems absolutely fine. Baldur tries to calm Eros down by using minor illusion on Galena to show it's just an illusion, and that's nothing else. So Galena's neck is now being slit by an invisible hand with blood dripping down, but it's all an illusion. Eros is about to turn and leave when the appearance of a female ghost whose neck has been cut from ear to ear suddenly appears in the doorway and whispers, "Find my killer." And that is where we stopped for the very first session.